So I'll get started. I think most of you have been on our calls already in training. So thank you so much for joining us again. I'm assuming some people will probably be rolling in a little later, given the time, but I appreciate you all joining us on Thanksgiving week. I'm gonna, not go through the whole spiel like I've done in the past, because I think, again, you're all familiar with what this program is, but this is our last training. I think after this, well, not I think, I know after this, you are all probably anxious to apply for the grant. So I just think this slide is probably the most important. So to be eligible for the funds, as you probably all know, you need to attend or at least certify that you watched 3 out of the 4 trainings. If you do that, you'll be eligible for the 3,000 grants to be able to implement some of the digital marketing services. We have about $50,000 available, and we'll run till it's depleted. So hopefully, if everyone took advantage of the 3,000, be around 16 businesses, but we may have some that take less. So it's just we're gonna all work together. You will see the applications aren't due by February 1st, 2025, just like given the holidays. And actually, I will be probably going on maternity leave either this week or next week. It all depends. So it just gives me a little time. But you do have time to fill out the application, so don't feel like you need to rush right after this. So these are all the past trainings, all the recordings. I think I noticed this morning, last week's is still not on, so I'll make sure we get that updated if you haven't had a chance to watch it. And then here we are today with creating a digital marketing plan. We'll get that recording on as well as the presentation as well. So this morning we're joined again by Leah Hancock. It's kind of nice. She started it, now she's ending it. And I think it's really nice too that the presentation today is creating a digital marketing plan. So it's going to put all of, Katie, sorry, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was going to ask, with the videos that you have recorded, are the PowerPoints available that they were using before?
Yeah, so I will make sure they're on there as well. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'll make
Thank you.
sure. The only one I can think is Anthony's was more of a video, but I'll see if that gets put on as well. But the other ones I'll make sure too.
And where are we finding those? Is it on the digital marketing website?
Yes, yeah, you'll see it, and
Okay,
I'll send a link after today with all that information where you can find
awesome.
everything, and I'll try to get it all uploaded today.
Thank you.
Yep. The video for today might not get on, but so with that being said, we're joined by Leah today, who will be doing creating a digital marketing plan, a good wrap up to put all these pieces together. Just some housekeeping. Please stay muted. You can turn your cameras on. We would love for you to keep put your cameras on during the Q&A portion. Raise your hand when you want to ask a question at the end, and I'll call on you. Again, this event's being recorded. We will send it to you once it's completed, and I'll try to send an email with everything that we have available. There's some resources that were sent as well, and I'll make sure I put them all in an email. Please rename yourself if you missed at the beginning with your first and last and your business name. Sorry. And again, just thank you again for joining me this week. I know it's crazy for everyone, so I appreciate you guys making the time. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Leah, who's going to talk about creating a digital marketing plan. So I'm going to stop sharing. Leah, the floor is yours.
All right, let me make sure the right one going here. Let's do. Okay, I think I finally figured out my presentation situation here, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. Practice makes better, as my kids say, because they don't say perfect anymore, which I appreciate. So good morning, everyone.
One second.
Sure.
Sorry, Lee, I didn't mean to cut you off. Judy, you have your hand raised? I saw you just called me as well. Oh.
I just want to let you know that the link that I had in my email for this didn't work.
Okay. All right. I'll resend. I'll do that while we're all talking. It didn't work.
One of the other people that's registered that I spoke to, it's having it not work for her as well. I ended up going to the town's website and logging in like that, but just
Okay.
FYI.
All right. I'll send an email out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. You're good. You can get going.
All right. Excellent. Thanks for letting us know, Judy. That's really helpful. I know I had 2 meetings on my calendar and had to double check which one I was clicking into because I should have just taken the first one off anyway. But welcome. So happy to have everyone here this morning. Now that we've gone through what digital marketing is, websites and SEO, how to bring in AI. Now we're going to bring it all together, kind of weave them all together, and start to create our digital marketing plan. And so this can be really helpful when you're applying for the grant that's coming up that you'll be able to apply for starting, after our session here today. So walking through our agenda. Come on now. There we go. So key takeaways for today, if you have handy a pen and paper or a separate screen that you can take some notes on, there will be a few kind of workshopping, active work sessions during our time together today so that you can actually start putting pen to paper or keys to screen and creating your plan and having some of that structure in place. So make sure you grab some of that. We'll talk about why building a marketing plan matters. And we'll talk about actually the steps to go through and build it and some final tips and have a Q&A session. So when you're building a marketing plan, we kind of follow a road here, and you'll start by defining your marketing goals. So we'll talk about doing some SMART goals and tying those goals to who your ideal customer is. We'll create our unique selling proposition, our USP or unique value proposition, really the thing that makes you stand out in a crowd amongst your competitors and other options in the marketplace. We'll talk about some brand messaging and how having a cohesive brand is important to making sure that people know who they're interacting with, building the like, know, trust factor, and really setting yourself apart in the marketplace even further. We'll talk about identifying some key marketing channels that will work well for you and your business, and some kind of caveats and things to keep in mind along the way. We'll talk about setting a content strategy and a marketing calendar. We'll tie in some local things that you may want to consider depending on your type of business. And then we'll also talk about tracking success with some basic metrics. So one of the really nice things about digital marketing as compared to traditional channels is that you really have an opportunity to track pretty much everything. You can track from the minute they click on something until they close a loop and make a purchase, depending on how your systems are set up and how your link tracking is set up. So you're really able to get a better sense of your return on investment on your digital marketing dollars. So diving in, why does it matter? I'm not going to read through all of them. I'm just going to hit the headlines for you. It helps you define your goals. It helps you identify your target audiences. That's something that we're going to talk about in a few minutes here, just why it's important to have that target audience, because if you're marketing to everyone, you're really marketing to no one. Helps you to maximize your resources, to stay consistent, and to measure your success to see what's working and what's maybe not working so you can adapt and grow. So building the marketing plan, it looks like a lot, but when you break it down into its component pieces, it's really a pretty approachable path to building this overall plan. This is something you can tackle in a few minutes every day over a week or two. It's something you can just like sit, grab a big old cup of coffee, like the size of my head, and just hammer through it. It's something that you can adapt and change over time, and you really should. And so we'll walk through kind of the building blocks and put a few of these things in place that you can build from later. So we're going to start by defining short and long-term marketing goals and talking about some SMART goals. Understanding your unique selling proposition, so why you, and tying that to your customers' needs. Again, crafting your messaging, so the elements of a brand and why being consistent matters. We'll identify some key marketing channels, prioritizing particularly based on your goals and your ideal customers. When we talk about developing a content strategy and marketing calendar, the content types and frequencies and planning for key dates, and also what works for you. Then we'll also talk about tracking some metrics, including some key performance indicators or KPIs, and using some feedback loops. So when we're talking about goals, we're thinking short term is basically anything under 6 months. Long term is anything over 6 months, or so. And long-term can be 6 months, a year, 3, 5, however long you want to look. And short-term can be broken down to what am I doing in the next hour? So this can help you think of all the different components and all the different pockets of time that you may have to be able to accomplish your goals. So some of the short-term goals that you may have in your digital marketing plan are building your email list, launching your website, or building an ad campaign. Some of the longer-term goals would be hitting a particular dollar figure in revenue, serving a particular number of customers, or even selling the business. So straight out of the gate, none of these goals are SMART. And we'll get into what that really means right now. So SMART term goals, or SMART term. SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, SMART. And by creating SMART goals, you're able to be really targeted with what your goal is so that you're not saying, oh, well, I think I did that, or I'm on track, I think, to be able to do those things. It really helps to be specific and to give you those tools to achieve those goals. So a short-term goal, like I said, is under 6 months. An example of a not SMART goal would be to get more website traffic and leads. The SMART goal version of that would be generate 50 new leads from the website within the next 90 days by improving SEO and launching a lead magnet campaign. So do you see the difference between those two things? It's specific because it captures the 50 new email subscribers with the downloadable ebook or the checklist with a lead magnet. It's measurable because you can track the number of new leads that are coming in. It's attainable because it's something that you're actually able to influence using targeted keywords to improve organic traffic, or you can say that you're going to run one paid campaign, you're going to promote the lead magnet on social media. It's relevant in growing the email list, builds an audience for future promotions and nurtures potential customers, like in the first session. And then it's time bound because it's something that you can achieve in the next 9. So thinking about a long-term SMART goal, a not SMART version would be increase online sales. It's a great goal, but a SMART goal gets it to that next level by, if you say, increase online revenue by 30% in 12 months by enhancing the website user experience and running integrated email and social media campaigns, which sounds like a lot, but again, breaking it into the component pieces, it's specific because you know you're going to boost your monthly online revenue from X to Y. It's measurable, so you can use your e-commerce analytics to track that growth. It's attainable because it's a number of different things that you can do to get to that point with optimizing website navigation, implementing email automation for abandoned carts, and having a consistent social media presence on all the platforms with your products. It's relevant in increasing revenue, supports scaling efforts like hiring or expanding inventory, and time bound because it's accomplished by the end of the year. So I hope that helps to kind of clarify why having these types of goals is important and useful for your marketing plan. So when I flip the slide, it's going to immediately start a timer, and we're going to pick two goals for your business, for your marketing efforts in particular. One long-term and one short-term, and I encourage you to try and make them SMART, and I have the acronym back up again on the next slide. So here we go for about a 3-minute kind of working block. last 30 seconds or so. Okay. I think for our next ones, I'll have us go for 2 minutes so we can just kind of keep cranking through our content here. But I hope that was helpful to kind of get the ball rolling with creating your initial short-term and long-term goals for your business that you can tie your marketing plan to. So why you? This is what we're talking about with creating your unique selling proposition. So it's what makes you different from everyone else in your market. And so this is where I was talking about a little bit earlier. In order to create your USP, you need to know who your perfect or ideal customer is, and it cannot be everyone. I know that the temptation is, well, I can serve everybody. My restaurant is appealing to everyone. But by trying to appeal to everyone, you'll wind up appealing to no one. And really being able to have that one particular person, that particular group, and have that end user, that visitor clearly in your mind, it makes creating a marketing plan that much easier rather than trying to please everybody with everything. Part of the kind of secret sauce of marketing in general is having the right message for the right person at the right time. And so if it's everybody, no one's going to see what your message is. It's going to become really muddied. And then they won't know that you can solve their problem in your own particular way or serve their need. So my husband and I were away over in Newport this weekend, and I had an experience. It was like, oh, this band knows their audience, in a literal sense. So we went out and there was a cover band playing live music. We were really excited. We got there at 8:30 and the music started at 10. So we're like, oh, all right, well, we'll hang out. We'll get in before the cover kicks in. We'll grab a seat where we can see the band. We'll grab our drinks before it gets too swamped, and everything will be fine. So the bar fills and it becomes very clear that we are not the general audience that frequents this bar. We're about 20 years older than everybody else in the place. We're like, that's all right. It's live music. What's not to like? The first song comes on and it's the song, it's called The Bar Song, Tipsy by Shaboozey, which is a great song. I love it, but I immediately want to hear the original by Jaquan, which came out in the early 2000s. So it's like, oh, there's another tip there might be a disconnect there, right? And lead singer starts, my husband and I kind of look together like, okay, well, love that confidence, but the crowd goes nuts. They love them. And the set list continues. It's kind of a mixed bag of songs, but the crowd is loving it. They're dancing, they're singing. It's like they're at a U2 concert. They're so excited to be there and having the times of their lives. And so after a few songs, we decided that we're going to leave when they take their first break. And we kind of talked about how wish we had gone to the bar that we'd seen a different band at the night prior. It was the earlier start time. Band had a vibe that we liked better. The crowd seemed a little bit more kind of our speed. But at the end of the day, at the end of the night, really, even though it wasn't necessarily what we would have picked, the band knew their crowd. The way that they see their audience, once they went from one song to the next, you could see it in how they worked together and how they sequenced the songs, that they knew exactly who their audience was and exactly what they like. And, aside from, there was one guitarist who really just needed a Van Halen cover band in the worst way. But aside from him, I think everybody knew exactly what they were doing and who their audience was, and really just kind of went for it. And it was really interesting to see how that all worked out. So we're going to start, I'm going to cut it off at 1 minute this time with another kind of working exercise. So we have sort of a Mad Lib version of creating your own unique selling proposition, and the prompt is on the next slide so we can walk through it. But it really helps you to define who your audience is, what you provide them, and what makes you different from others in the marketplace. So looking at it here, so for your ideal customer noun, who, verb phrase describing a specific need from Mad Lib style. Your business name is the superlative or other unique descriptor of the business. That, again, another verb phrase explaining the key service or benefit provided. Unlike the type of competitor or alternative, your business name is what makes your business unique compared to others. So I'll give it 2 minutes to work on it, and then I'll kind of run through what mine looks like for my own business. Give another 30 seconds or so. So even though the timer is still running, you can keep working. I'm just going to keep running through the end of the slide here and share what my USP statement is for my own business. And so for my business, Plasma Marketing is for small business owners and nonprofit leaders who feel overwhelmed by marketing, but know they need a clear strategy to grow. Plasma Marketing is a trusted partner in marketing strategy and execution that helps you see the forest through the trees by creating actionable plans and implementing them seamlessly. Unlike one-size-fits-all agencies, Plasma Marketing is dedicated to meeting you where you are with personalized solutions and personalized solutions that make marketing manageable and effective. So next, we're going to jump into talking about elements of a brand. And so Anthony, I know, covered a lot of these things in his session on websites and SEO. So we'll just talk through this fairly quickly with some examples and how you might be able to work with them in your own business. So brand name, even though I have the apple on the logo, but Apple is a great example of a brand name. It's simple, memorable, and evocative, and it stands out and symbolizes innovation and approachability. Next for logo, we have Nike. So if you think of that swoosh, it's minimal, dynamic, and instantly recognizable worldwide. A great tagline that's come out in recent years is McDonald's. The I'm loving it resonates universally, tying positive emotions to the brand and making it unforgettable. The color palette, if you think of Coca-Cola and that classic red and white, it's timeless. It's instantly associated with energy, joy, and refreshment. If you think typography, so your kind of font faces and font combinations. If you think Google, it's clean, modern, versatile. It's a sans serif font, and it mirrors the simplicity and functionality of the tools themselves. Imagery, a great example is Airbnb. From a brand perspective, it's warm, inclusive, and user-focused, and it emphasizes real people, real homes, and real experiences, which fosters a sense of belonging for the brand. A great example of tone is MailChimp, which many of you may use for your own marketing efforts. It's playful, it's approachable and clear, and the tone, which is their voice and how they communicate, it strikes a balance of humor and professionalism and appeals to creative entrepreneurs. And brand story, the best one I can think of is Patagonia. So it's rooted in environmental activism, and Patagonia's story is one of sustainability and purpose that aligns deeply with its audience's values and lifestyle. Patagonia is one of those brands that I feel like I know the brand story more than a lot of other brands out there. And if you think of one brand that does all of these things particularly well, a great example is Nike. It's a short brand name, really recognizable logo, just do it for the tagline. The color palette is bold, black, white, red, really bright colors after that. The typography is that like bold sans serif that's athletic and modern, but also, you know, has some energy behind it. The imagery is often inclusive with people of different backgrounds and body types all working and being in athletic endeavors. So it's kind of opening athleticism to a wide audience and being inclusive in that way. The tone is often very confident, very kind of go get 'em, very positive. And then the brand story, you know, a lot of people know the brand story of Phil Knight and coming through and you know, kind of changing the whole industry for sportswear and for shoes. So what branding does for your business, and this is all part of building the plan and making sure you have all of these elements in place. One of the best things you could do is kind of have a cheat sheet that's handy, that you have all of your color codes, all of your fonts, all of your logos in one place, that as you're creating your content across platforms, you're able to drop things in seamlessly, so that you are cohesive and are consistent across platforms. It helps to establish your brand identity. You get that consistent brand messaging. It helps you stand out from the competition, builds that loyalty, and elevates perceived value. And that's something that I think is really kind of not a hack or a secret or anything like that, but something that people don't necessarily realize until you see a brand that's kind of broken its general standards. You're like, oh, it's almost like a discordant note in a song. That doesn't feel right. And when a brand has a really strong, cohesive look, it feels like it's a more luxury experience. And that's just keeping things consistent across the board. So as you're building your plan, you'll think about some key marketing channels that are tied again back to that ideal customer. And as you're thinking of which channels to bring in, it's something to consider whether it's owned, paid, or earned media. And the difference between those things, owned media are things that you have full control over. You're not dependent on paying something else to make sure that it's seen within reason. So with a website, you're going to pay to have your platform. You might pay to do some SEO work or things like that. You're going to pay for your email marketing platform, but you still own the content of your website. You own your email list and the content that goes out in your emails. So that also includes things like your social media accounts or any apps or blogs or SMS messaging that you're doing. Your owned media is kind of your stuff. Paid media is kind of the next logical evolution from there, and that's stuff that you pay to make sure that it's promoted to get out. So if owned as being outbound, paid is sort of inbound, right? So outbound, you're pushing everything out so that everyone can see it. Paid is you're trying to get people to come to your site. SEO kind of dips into both a little bit because you'll have some inbound functions for SEO, but in general, paid includes things like ads, influencer marketing, and sponsored content. Earned media is something, it's what you get from what's called an implied third-party endorsement. So when you partner with someone else, when you do a collaboration, when you get media coverage, to the consumer, it implies that whoever you're partnering or collaborating or has been published with approves of your business, approves of your product, and wants to spread the word. So that's where you're getting your links from your other sites, reviews, things like that, for that earned media slot. So your digital marketing plan should have components of each of these, because each also has different, varying levels of time required and funding required to be able to put it together. So then we have another exercise coming up. And we're going to identify some of those key channels. Again, I'm going to cut it at about 2 minutes. So as you're going through and thinking of who your ideal customer is, thinking about what channels you may have already in place, what things are kind of approachable to you. After we do this exercise, we'll talk about what types of timelines and calendars might make the most sense while you're building these plans and kind of getting things out the door. So I will let this one run for the 3 minutes just so that we have enough time to kind of think through and have some owned, some paid, some earned, and how they tie back to where your ideal customer is kind of hanging out online. One more minute for this exercise. Right. So next we're going to dive into some of the content frequency and the strategy for what content you're sharing. So really, you'll read things online about you should be posting on Instagram stories every day. You should be sending a weekly or even more frequent email to everybody. You should be posting a blog post every single week. You should be checking your analytics every week or every day. In an ideal world where you have double the amount of hours in the day and aren't also trying to run a business and do all the things that encompass that and have a life outside of your business, sure, that'd be great. But realistically, the best thing that you can do for creating your own digital marketing plan or marketing plan in general is to set yourself up for success. Think about the things that you enjoy doing that align with where your ideal customer is online. Focus your energy on those things. focus your energy on the things that seem to move the needle the most at this point, and be ready to experiment to see what might work better, what might be able to shift out and try something different. And kind of be realistic that as soon as you set a plan, you know the universe is going to laugh and say, oh, just kidding. You thought you had 5 days. All three of your kids are going to go down with a stomach bug this week. Sorry. You know, and things like that, or, you know, your water pipe is going to break or something like that. There's always something that's going to kind of throw a wrench into your plans. And so trying to be realistic and give yourself some flexibility and give yourself some grace in your marketing plans is going to be key for being able to stay consistent with them and to give them the best chance of success, right? So some of the things that you could think of doing on a kind of short-term, medium, and long-term basis. You can send some one-to-one emails each week talking about, you know, to different partners, trying to get some collaborations. Kind of, I have this on 2 sections, but some shorter term collaborations, some partnerships with other businesses in town that might be aligned with what you're doing in your own business. You can schedule some social media posts. This is where scheduling tools, AI tools can be a really huge help in saving you some time, saving you some energy, just trying to schedule them all at once so that you're not kind of wondering day of, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to post? I use a tool called Metricool, which is really helpful for tracking all of the content across the platforms that I'm sharing to, and also getting the analytics in as well. And so I can kind of see everything in one place and how it's all performing, behaving, launching. And that's been really helpful for me in my business and with my clients. You can also commit to doing some website updates, whether that's adding some new products, changing out a menu, adding a pop-up or a new image, something like that. Even small updates like that can be really helpful in helping to keep your website ranking well for SEO purposes. In the medium term, looking at some kind of monthly activities, sending an email blast to your customer. If you think of it as a monthly exercise, you have to set up 12 over the course of the year. Okay, that seems fairly reasonable, and that's probably something that you can schedule out or at least kind of wireframe the content pretty well ahead of time. We'll talk about kind of your calendaring in the next slide here. Having a monthly blog post is something that's probably fairly reasonable. It doesn't have to be 10,000 characters, 10,000 words. It can be, blog posts are really great for things like bullet points, using header text, so H1 and H2 tags, which are usually part of your formatting guide in your text editor. Throwing in some pictures and things like that, just really, again, kind of getting that content updated on a regular basis on your website. And the last thing for monthly that you definitely should be doing is checking your analytics. So seeing where your what posts are performing well and kind of trying to capitalize on the ones that are performing well, what pages are working well for your website, what your ad campaigns are doing, if they're kind of just, if they're not converting into people going to the page that you want them to go to. Is there a step missing in your funnel? Is there something that you can do to tweak that, some keywords that you could change along those lines? And then quarterly, looking at more long-term, is setting up those ad campaigns to kind of help flatten some of the peaks and valleys you may see in your business over the course of the year. That can also be doing some more kind of bigger picture collaborations, some more longer term campaign planning for collaborations and partnerships with other like-minded businesses and kind of parallel businesses. And then also public relations, trying to think of how you can reach out to local media, to other online media as well, to get some of that, like I said, the implied third-party endorsement, and get some news coverage for your company that then can start driving traffic to your website, to your socials, to whatever platform you have, and to your brick and mortar in that case as well. So thinking about the kind of overall calendar. So it really depends on your business, of course. But we're looking kind of broad base. You know, you may see a big bump in January if you're a gym or a wellness kind of related business, right? All the resolutioners coming in and wanting to get on top of changing their whole lives in the month of January. Valentine's Day might be something big if you're a florist or a gift shop or a spa or something like that. How can you build in those things in your messaging? A lot of businesses tend to see a boost in business in Q2, so kind of March to May or so. People are kind of coming out of the winter doldrums. They've, kind of pushed all their resolutions to the side. They're going back out to their restaurants and their bars and things. And so a lot of businesses tend to see kind of a rising tide in Q2. Spring activities that might be important for your business include things like prom, end of school, Mother's and Father's Day, all sorts of things that could create more opportunities for events for your business or collaborations with other like-minded businesses for gifts and experiences and things like that. A lot of businesses do experience kind of a summer slump. Again, depending if you're an ice cream shop, a summer slump is probably not a thing that happens very much for you. So knowing kind of what the ebbs and flows of what your seasonality might be. Back to school might be something that comes up really well for you, or maybe is another opportunity or another place where things dip. We're coming up on a huge week this week for small businesses in particular with Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday. It feels like the next kind of week or so is a whirlwind for a lot of my clients and a lot of work that's coming up. And so what can you do to kind of capitalize on those things? If you're a business to business, having something that reaches out to your other small business clients on Small Business Saturday, or having a post acknowledging your gratefulness for their partnership and their collaboration with what you have, and what you share can be something that's really nice. And then we have the winter holidays, of course. This year is kind of a funny year with Thanksgiving coming so late. The holiday schedule, which I'm sure is not news to anybody at this stage of the game, is seriously, severely condensed this year. So I feel like it's going to be kind of an all-out sprint for a lot of businesses the next 3.5 weeks or so to kind of try and capitalize as much as possible on that holiday kind of hubbub. So then, let me go back again. So we'll have one more session of working. I'm going to cut this down to 2 minutes as well so that we have some good time for Q&A at the end. And I have one more slide talking about analytics and kind of how best to track some of those things. So for the next 2 minutes, we're going to work on some calendaring things that you want to keep in mind for the next month, quarter, or even next year. Note some of the high points in your year, note some of the low points in your year. And then what you do is kind of try and capitalize on the things that are happening in the high points to try and bring up the low and balance out those ebbs and flows in your business. And try and, keep it a little bit more level so you have more predictable revenue over the course of the year. So again, we'll do that for 2 minutes. And then I'll let you know when it's time to head to the next slide. Well, for another 30 seconds or so here. Okay. So the last thing we're going to talk about today is some basic metrics and kind of making sure that what you're tracking is in line with your SMART goals that we talked about earlier, ties back into the activities that we've kind of tentatively mapped out on a regular basis, and picking your key performance indicators. So before we dive in, one of the things that I really like to encourage small business owners in particular is to focus on their lead measures and then kind of tie those to their lag measures. So lead measures are things that you can directly control and you can track regularly. So lag measures are the end results that will tell you if it's working or not. So you'll know you can't control the results of the lag measure in real time, but you can control those lead measure things. So a lead measure are things like posting 3 times a week on Instagram to increase brand awareness and engagement. And the kind of flip side of the lag measure for that is a measurable increase in sales, say 10% increase in sales over the next quarter as a result of that increased engagement on those Instagram posts. So the lag measure is going to be what winds up probably being your SMART goal, and the lead measure is all the activities that you do to get to that end goal. But by focusing on those lead measures, you can stay proactive and adjust your tactics as needed, which then sets the stage for positive lag measure results down the line. Lag measures are the more outcome-based ones, like I said. They reflect the end goals that are part of what we've created in the SMART goals and overall goals for the business. They're reactive and show you whether or not your lead measures were effective, but like I said, you can't control them directly. So some of the lag measures that you'll probably see are, sales revenue, number of leads generated, website traffic, conversion rate, customer retention rate, return on investment. Those are those like big kind of overarching goals for your business. Some of the lead measures are predictive things that you can have to make sure that you accomplish those end goals, right? So some of the lead measures that you might have for digital marketing in particular include your posting frequency on social media, which can drive engagement over time, which may convert into leads and sales. Your email campaign frequency, with sending consistent targeted email newsletters, kind of continues to increase your likelihood of having better open rates, better click-through rates, and better conversions. Your content creation, so if you're writing blog posts or creating videos or producing podcasts, how many of those things are you producing in order to drive the end goal result? The amount that you're spending on the paid ads, you have control over how much you're spending. You spend more, they tend to convert more. It's that sort of pay-to-play concept that we have. Lead magnet creation, so are you creating things that people can download that are helpful tools? And then website updates and optimization, so regularly updating your website for improving SEO or speed, or the user experience in general. All those things can lead to more traffic and better conversion rates. So being able to focus on the things you can control in order to drive success in the things that you'll find out later if it was successful or not, right? So you're choosing your key performance indicators. You can choose those elements, those goals, those numbers that you want to track that will give you the best sense of whether or not a particular portion of your plan or your plan overall is working well. If it's an overall revenue goal you're trying to meet, you'll probably have kind of sub goals for each portion of your marketing plan, or different kind of target areas for each of that. So that can include things like the number of posts you have on social media. It's a lead indicator. your email open rates, your website visits, those are your lag indicators. And then using your feedback loops. So if you're checking your analytics on a regular basis, which monthly is great if you can, you can see what is working. You can look at those lag indicators and kind of look back and say, okay, well, were my tactics going into supporting this goal actually working? Okay, if they're not working, what can I do to increase the number of posts I'm putting up, to add a little bit more ad spend to my budget? And you can adjust to see what is or isn't working and kind of move the needle from there. All this to say, you have to kind of be open to evolving. Marketing plans can and should change over time, but taking those small steps, really focusing on those lead indicators, those things that you can do on a regular basis that align with who you are as a business owner, what your business goals are, that kind of slow incremental growth is really what's going to be sustainable for you and for your business over the long term. And taking some time to assess them, assessing your marketing plan, assessing your strategies and goals over the course of the year. Now is a really great time to do it, aside from it being crazy with the holidays and things like that. But kind of a year end or very early year beginning is a great time to have that reset, that checking in on goals and seeing where you stand and what could change. And so from here, we'll dive into some Q&A. But I'm also just going to put up my kind of contact information if you have questions after the fact, and kind of open it up to questions from here.
Yeah, well, thank you so much again, Leah. I think that, like I said at the beginning, I think this was a great wrap-up session from everything that we've learned. So like all the other sessions, if anyone has a question about something you've learned today or something, you know, that maybe Leah talked about in the past, the floor is yours. So see Liz from the Sweet Bay shop has raised her hand.
Hey, Leah. This was super helpful. Thank you so much. I really like how you laid it all out. I can't wait to go back and rewatch it and spend a little more time jotting down notes and planning. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that, an app, I think you mentioned Metricool, and
Yes.
how that could maybe help us.
Yeah, absolutely. So Metricool, it is all web-based. A lot of tools now don't really have the kind of like desktop function or features or things like that that you might be familiar with from previous software options. But Metricool is sort of a all-in-one place where you can bring in all of your social channels. So for my clients and myself, I'm able to post to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, TikTok, Twitter, and I think I'm missing one that I don't even, I think they added Threads as well. I can also bring in my ad campaigns for Meta ads. I can bring in ad campaigns for Google ads, and I can bring in an analytics stream from websites as well. So I can see where the peaks and valleys are for all of these different channels are and their effects on the traffic. The nice thing is that you can plan ahead all of your content that comes up with a calendar or a list. You can decide which platforms are getting which content on which days. You can create your kind of link in bio page for Instagram and for other platforms with that functionality. It will flag content if you have too many characters for a Twitter caption, or if the ratio doesn't work for Instagram. It'll kind of give you a little notification saying like, oh, hang on, you got to make sure you update that before we're able to publish it. And so you can create a whole swath of content, and also they have they just released a feature called a post library, so you can kind of save posts there that you decide you don't want to publish it on this particular day, but you can kind of set it aside for later and pull it in whenever it makes more sense. So yeah, that's Metricool, and it is a free platform for most of those channels. I think you have to pay for LinkedIn, and then I pay because I have sort of a client review and approval process for mine. But for like a one person or one team, one business account, it is a free tool.
No kidding. Okay. I'll look into that. Sounds awesome. Thank you.
It's really powerful. You're welcome.
We have Judy next.
Yeah, hi, thank you. So nice, so concise and clear. Appreciate that. My question is about Google My Business or the Google Business Profile. Can you address how that fits into all this, please?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So your Google Business Profile is part of that owned media section. So you can almost think of it as another social media platform to a certain extent. Google Business Profile is huge for local search engine optimization. So if you're able to share information there, share updates about your hours or pictures and things like that, it's a great place to corral your reviews, which is that kind of earned media portion of it. But if you're able to post an update there every month or so, or every so often, that'll help kind of keep that bubbling up to the top. And making sure that it's up to date with, again, your hours, your location, your contact information. That's really huge for anybody who's searching on mobile, especially if they're looking for, a restaurant near me or a particular type of restaurant. It'll tie in the relevance, the location, and it'll really get you the information that you need for the end user. But it is something that you can claim as a business owner and make sure that you're managing kind of proactively. There might be a few hoops to jump through for claiming it, making sure that you are the business owner, that you do have a physical location, and things like that. But that's fairly well documented in the startup process and in the claim process for kind of the business owner in Google. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
We have Stephanie with her hand raised.
Yeah, I didn't really have a question, but I just want to say I really liked your presentation, Leah. I have to run, but I thought it was really great. I work with Anthony over at Boston Web Group, so it's really cool to hear your take on things. But yeah, I didn't want to duck out without saying that I really enjoyed your presentation and it was awesome. And Erin, thank you so much for setting this up.
Oh.
It's been great. So
Good.
Thanks,
Thank you
Stephanie.
so much.
Take care.
Yeah, and thank you for all your help and thank you.
sure,
Thanks for
I gotta
joining
go.
us. All
Yep.
right.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Katie has her hand raised.
Okay, yeah, this was awesome. This whole thing correlated really nicely. I'm actually in the middle of the 10,000K small business program through Goldman Sachs. So we just did our marketing segment last week. So as I was going through their marketing program, I was going through this one. So it was like perfect timing for me. And I used the word drip campaign and someone was really impressed. So I was pretty excited about that. My question is, one of my goals for next year is to develop a video campaign. So, some sort of video marketing I can have for the website, like a landing page. Do you know of any local companies or trustworthy people, that I should call?
Yes. So there are a number of small businesses in town who do this, but I really want to make a big plug for WCAT.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay.
If you're a WCAT member, you have access to all of their cameras, all of their equipment, their studio space, their podcast space. The team over there do such a phenomenal job, and it is such a hidden gem in town that I want to stand on my roof and tell everybody about them. And they're able to help you kind of record, edit, get things ready to go. You're probably going to be responsible for the kind of coordination and posting and copywriting and that sort of thing. But Ian and the team over at WCAT are absolutely phenomenal, and I can't recommend them enough for small businesses and organizations in town in particular. And the membership is really, really reasonable for small businesses, especially for single person businesses.
So that's actually, so two different things. One thing I'm looking to do, I'm going to be creating a series of webinars with interviews of local, sort of people I know in my circle. So that might be appropriate for that series. I'm thinking more too, though, of like one video, just like a, quick internet video for a landing page. Is that something they will develop for me, or something I sort of have to run lead on? Like I'm looking for someone to come in and do it, take the video, edit it, produce something for me.
They can
Oh.
do that.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, if you have kind of like your framework, if you have like your general kind of ideas for what it might look like, you maybe even like a shot list or something like that, or like the general goals for it, they'll work with you to help develop what that might look like, some of the best practices for filming, and they can help you produce that too.
Okay, but I'm looking for something to like be not there, like because I do in-home therapy, so be something like off-site. Is that something they would do off-site, or is that? Oh, okay, cool.
And maybe you guys can follow up after this call too of
Yeah.
other resources that are available as well.
Okay, this has been great.
Excellent.
Matt, you have your hand raised?
Yes. Hi, Leah. That was awesome. I appreciate everything that you shared. I don't necessarily have like a product to sell. It's more like relationship based and growing that. And I still had a ton of takeaways. So just like thank you for having those different components in there. I wanted to ask if you could go back to your USP page. I started with the little template, but didn't get too far, and I just wanted to shoot a picture of it so I could take some time afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
And Matt, I'll make sure too, I send this presentation out. It'll be on our website too. So you'll have all the tools that are available.
Okay, awesome. I was very late in discovering all of this, so I would love to go back and dig at some of the first sessions as well.
Great. Yeah, I'll be trying to do a follow-up email today with what's available.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
So can you see that, Matt? I just want to make sure it came up for you. Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Leah? Oh, we have Bob. Go ahead, Bob. Just want to unmute.
Yeah. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. It may be a little in the weeds, but when you were talking about branding, you were talking about earning news coverage, and you mentioned reviews and mentions. And I think I saw, it might be Yelp that said, don't ask for reviews. And I only wondered why they said that. Do you have any thoughts on asking and not asking for reviews?
So there's a way that it can be done in a kind of natural, organic way. And there's a way that it can be done kind of, I don't want to say sleazily or anything like that. So you want to make sure that when you're asking for reviews, it's at a point in your interaction with customers that makes sense. So after they've like finished their meal, after they've finished their interaction with you, if it's in a follow-up email saying something like, if you've had a great experience, please consider leaving us a review on any of these platforms. If we have room for improvement, please let us know so that we can make it right. That goes a long way in building that customer trust and building that repeat business for you. Where it gets a little tricky is if it's like leave a review, win a thing, because then you're incentivizing those reviews, and it makes it, if you're tying a prize to it, then it kind of incentivizes the person to leave a positive review or an overly positive review so they get picked for whatever the prize is, versus a more kind of organic request for a review. Does that make sense?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
that makes sense.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions? All right. I see Katie has her hand raised.
Yeah, I was gonna fill in a little bit too. Like we do email like a follow-up after therapy ends, and in that email it's like lots of information plus a plug for the Google review. What I did do that's really helpful though is I have therapists that work for me. There's 15 of us. So I incentivize them to push for reviews, not so much incentivizing the clients, but every time one of my staff gets named in a Google review, I give them a gift card to something, and then we share it publicly. So it was a little different version of that. But it doesn't feel like it's impacting the patients. It's just like when the therapist is, usually it's a patient who's talking forever about how happy they are. That's everything's so great, yada, yada. I'm like, use that time, give them a review, the link so they can fill it out. And I tell people like the Google reviews help us grow. So when you're filling it out, it's helping us show up on Google so we can help more people. So I kind of give information about why we need them too.
And
Great.
that's a great way to, you mentioned that you share the positive reviews of your therapist. That's a huge way to build trust and that like no trust factor that we've talked about, that you're celebrating your employees, your team members, that you care about your team. That's something that can set you apart in everyone's just, all businesses are just out for money, all that stuff, right? But if you're building a business that cares about their employees, that wants to celebrate their accomplishments, that invests in their continuing education, things like that, those are all really wonderful things to be sharing in your content strategy.
Patricia, floor is yours.
Hi, good morning. I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you to both Aaron and Leah. Great presentations, and it's just been great seeing all the local businesses online too. And I have to go back and review all this information, right? And the timing is great because I'm trying to grow my business. So just thank you again for all your help. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining
you.
us. And yeah, I'm glad this program has been very positive for you. And yeah, I appreciate it. Anyone else? All right. With that being said, I'm just gonna pull up one more time. Hold on, just so everyone, we're on the same page, and I'll include this on my email as well. Hold on 1 second, I lost it. You know what? Right now, I'm not going to worry about it. So I'll just speak to it. So thank you again. This was our last training. Thank you, Leah, so much. It was very helpful. Again, I think it wrapped everything up nicely. And so from here, if you are interested in applying for the $3,000 grant to implement anything that you've learned over this process, whether that be, updating your website, e-commerce, your social media, working with a consultant too, to help you, kind of guide you. The grant applications are now available. They're on our website, the digital marketing website. You do have till February 1st to fill out the application. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Hopefully today's email that I send out will address many of your questions. I will be going on a maternity leave either this week or next week. And so hopefully if you don't hear back from me right away, you will hear from me, but we do have some time, and it's not first come, first serve. And yeah, if you have any positive feedback you'd love to give us, I think we'd really appreciate it. Shoot me an email. I think that's really great. And anything that you think we could have improved on as well would be very beneficial too. So with that being said, I thank you again. I'll let everyone get on with their day. If you need anything, my email is ecokinda@wakefield.ma.us, and you'll hear from me today. And thanks again, Leah.
Thanks, Erin. Thanks everybody
All
for
right.
joining. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Have a great day.